Good morning. I'll call our Nash County February the 5th meeting to order. It is customary for our board to start our meeting with a prayer and a pledge of allegiance to the flag. In the prayer, you're welcome to stand and join us in the prayer. You can have your own prayer, or you can have a moment of silence. Ms. Richardson, I'd ask for you to have the invocation at this time, if you could. Thank you.
Let us stand. Dear Lord, it is again that your people have come together on this day for this purpose you have set before us. We thank you for our life, health, and strength, giving us the opportunity to work for your benefit. Help us, Lord, to say and do what is pleasing in your sight. Bless Nash County and bless our whole county and country for the things that we are going through. We know that all things are in your hand, and you will work it out to your own will and way if we only obey your will. Help us to keep your commandments and do what is right for us. In the name of Christ, we ask it all. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Would you join me in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I did get a call early this morning from Miss Barnes' husband, Johnny. Said that she had come down with the flu yesterday afternoon and thought she would be okay this morning, but certainly wasn't okay to come. So that's the reason we have one after seat up here.
She ain't gonna be okay tomorrow morning either.
Yeah, she's not gonna be okay tomorrow morning either, understood. Okay, next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes. We have a right many things on the agenda this morning. So I'm just going to postpone the approval of the minutes to our next meeting, which will be February the 19th. Then now we're on public comment, which is section 5. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an item on our agenda that allows anyone from the public to come and speak to our board. It can be about any item that you have on your mind this morning that is not otherwise on the agenda. If it's on the agenda or a public hearing that you wish to speak at, we would ask for you to wait to that particular item on the agenda. This morning, we do ask you to sign up out front prior to the meeting. I had 2 people to sign up, but if you didn't realize you needed to sign up and wish to speak, we will acknowledge you after the 2 people that I did have signed up speak. We would ask for you to come to the podium to give us your comments and to give us your name and address. First person on the list is Minister Edna Mount. Good morning, ma'am.
First, I would like to say a pleasant good morning to each of you. Good morning. And since first time seeing you all this year, I want to wish you a Happy New Year.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I am here on the behalf.
Could I get you to give the name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Well,
I tell people I don't have all-timers, I have some-timers.
We all probably have just a tad bit of that.
My name is Minister Edna Mount. I live at 12857 West Haynes Avenue, Middlesex, North Carolina. And I am here on the behalf of a young lady that lives at the Mount Pleasant Trailer Park. And I would like to say I'm still on the job. It was 1999 that this board appointed me as community leader for the Faith Department of Middlesex. I'm still on the job. And I am here on her behalf. She lives on a trailer park, and on the side that she lives on, she knows there's 24 trailers. And on the other side, which was behind what used to be the old rescue squad building, there are trailers. Some of the people on that property own their own trailers, and others rent from Mr. Daly. They have to pay lot rent. Okay, well, Ms. Renfro owns her trailer, and she is a taxpayer. And I would like to say that Ms. Renfro is a heart recipient, a real heart, for 20 long years. And she will come before me to let you know what her problem is, because she doesn't drive, she doesn't have anyone to take her trash to Stony Hill Church Road where the trash dumpster is. And when she spoke with Mr. Daly, I think it's this week, he was very insulting to her when he said, well, hook your trash behind your trailer and pull it to the trash dumpster. And I don't approve of that. And we wanted to know if there was any way that this board could contact Mr. Daly and ask him to contract with Waste Industries to put a trash dumpster on that site that residents only can use it, not outside people, because where I live, there is a trash dumpster, and if we see anyone come up to dump their trash, we are out the door and let them know. This is for residents only. And there is a sign on there that there is a fine, but sometimes they fail to read it. So I'm here this morning on the behalf of Ms. Renfro, who is here with me today, whom I've known over 40 years, to see if there was anything that this board could do, and talking with Mr. Daly to see that he could get some way that those elderly people could get their trash hauled over to Stony Hill Church Road or somewhere, because if they let it pile up around their apartment, he is going to be complaining. And I came to you all because that's why we go to the polls and vote for each of you. And I would like to say there are 3 people on this board that I know real well. And I'm not here because I know them. And I hope I get to know the rest of you all. So I am going, she wrote a letter, and that's why I'm here on her behalf to help her, because she did not know exactly what to do or how to go about it. And I told her, bring it to our county commissioners first, because you all are the police of the county.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I'm going to, at this time, let Ms. Renfro, and be patient with her, because sometimes she gets a little, if you all had seen the medication that she first started out taking when she had that human heart transplant, and I give God all the glory that she is still here for 20 years, and she lives alone. So I'm going to let Ms. Renfro come and explain to you all in her own words as to what's taking place. And thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. And the next speaker is Ms. Renfro.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Minister Brenda Renfro. I live on Mr. Daly's trailer lot. I own my trailer. My address is 6216 Lincoln Street, Bailey, NC. And I live in the subdivision, the trailer park. There's 2 trailer parks, and my concern is my son have been coming from Raleigh. I've been out there ever since 1992. My son have been coming from Raleigh, taking my trash to the dumpster. Now he can't do it, so I asked Mr. Daly Friday when he picked my check up for the lot rent, if he could get trash, green waste county trash can out there for the trash. His question was, just for you? I said, no, for everybody, because it's 24 trailers. And there's a man out there older than me, and he got cancer, and he don't drive, so he needs help also for his trash. My concern is, well, this is the letter I wrote to the Nash County Board of Commission. I am Brenda at Strickland Renfro. My concern is I pay a lot rent to Mr. Daly and his son AC. My lot rent is $200 a month. and there's 24 trailers in the subdivision. I own mine, 3 other families own theirs, 2 have left. So there's 2 on the land now. That's me and another lady. Mr. Daly never have put a green waste counter can out here for us to put our trash in. We had to take our trash ourselves. My son came from Raleigh and took mine. Now he cannot do that. I don't have a car. I asked Mr. Daly Friday if he would put a waste trash can out for us. His words was, "No, you don't have good sense, do you? You crazy. Are you talking about just you? Are you for everyone, everybody?" I said, "Everybody." And Daly said, that costs too much. He told me I could get one for myself. And I asked him who was gonna pick it up to take the trash to the dump. He said, hook your trailer, attach your trailer to the trash barrel and pull it away. I said, do you know what you look like? He said, what do you mean? Do you really know what you look like? That's what I said. He said, what do you mean? I went back in the house and closed the door. He don't want to get into the government business. He don't want the government to get after him about anything, so, and I've had a I pay my taxes, I vote. I've had a heart transplant for 20 years, and I'm on a lot of medications. I take shots, I have sugar, and I need something to put my garbage in because I don't have no transportation.
Mr. Renfro, we greatly appreciate you coming to us this morning with this problem. What I'm going to do is just ask the manager to look into this, and he or someone with his staff will be back in touch with you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And good to see you moving around like you are. You must have been one of the early ones to have a heart transplant.
Yes,
Yeah,
because
20 years.
then I was taking 40 pills and taking I'm taking over 25 now.
Well, you're blessed to be able to come speak to us this morning. We thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak under public comment section at this time? Seeing no one, we're now on item 6 on the agenda, which is Purple Heart and all veterans parking sign, and I'll call on Tyler Stetterman to come and make this presentation. Good morning.
Hello to everyone. My name is Tyler Stetterman, the Nash County Veteran Service Officer, and I don't have anything really prepared for today other than just to say I'm excited that we're getting these signs. I think it's a very good way to show, residents of Nash County that we care, and just a very visual way to do it. I'm also proud that Nash County participated in this activity because not all counties have, but we have. And then also, I just say from me personally, as well as the county side, I'm honored that you all asked me this in the first place from the Marine Corps League, just if we would participate in this program because, well, once again, not everyone's done it. It's a great way to show that we care, and I really like the signs. I like what we're doing. I like the whole message. That's it for me. Do you all, would you like to say anything, Mr. Thompson?
One moment. Yes.
Sure.
Good morning. Rick Thomas, Department of North Carolina Marine Corps League. Throughout history, mankind has acknowledged the warrior with ribbons and medals and badges and parades. You have perpetuated this. You have put signs that will last for many years to come. The ribbons fade, the memories fade, but that sign will be here forever. Thank you, gentlemen and ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nope, all right. That is it for me, as far as if we want to go down, and how do y'all want to do this with getting the signs?
I'm gonna take care of that.
Sure.
First of all, I'm gonna ask the board if they have any comment or any questions that they would have at this time.
I appreciate Mr. Thomason bringing this to the board. I think anytime we can recognize our military, as well as our law enforcement, emergency personnel, public safety personnel, I think that's a good thing, because in large part, in many places, not in Nash County, but they are disrespected, and it's a terrible disgrace, and thank you for bringing this up to us.
I think it's a good thing, and I certainly strongly support it. Being an ex-military man myself.
Okay, what are we gonna do at this time is take a short break, and the Board of Commissioners and, our manager thought it'd be a good idea for us to walk downstairs and, unveil, thank you, sir. Word lost me there for a minute, these signs. And so, at this time, I'm gonna call for a short break. We're gonna go downstairs and we'll be right back up here in just a few minutes. We will certainly invite you to join us, in the unveiling of the signs out in our parking lot. Tyler, we'll follow you down. Call us back to order at this time. Appreciate, each of you joining us outside. This time we're on item number 8. It's tabled the state of the county. And, I don't know who came up with this idea, but, we decided, this year, they kind of wanted to tell the story of 2017. And at this time, if you'll bear with me, I'm going to attempt to do that for the board. Good morning. Can you hear me okay? Great. First of all, I have good news and I have bad news for you this morning. The good news is that the New England Patriots did not win the Super Bowl again. The bad news is that the Philadelphia Eagles did win the Super Bowl. For what this board and staff accomplished in 2017, the first thing I feel like I should do is thank those that were responsible for it. Our Board of Commissioners is first on my list. We have a great board, in each one of us' opinion, I hope. We have a great commitment to the citizens of Nash County. To show you our commitment, we had 33 actual meetings during the year of the whole board. And out of those 33 meetings, we had a overall attendance of 98.3%. I don't think you would find another board in North Carolina that would have the commitment that we have to make sure we at these meetings every time we have a meeting. We have Ms. Wells sitting there this morning that I know has been under the weather for at least a week, but she chose to be here with us even though I told her on Friday she didn't need to, but she's right there. And of course, Ms. Barnes, very, very rarely, I don't remember, I did go through all the minutes and see the meetings that were missed, but I promise you she would be here this morning if she was able to. But I want to thank the board for the commitment that they make and the sacrifice that they put forward to be here at all of our meetings. And these were regular meetings, not necessarily committee meetings. We have a board that works together. I think Mary actually made this comment, sent it to me, that she feels like that we have a board that works together very well. We do not generally let our political affiliations or our beliefs get in the way of what we need to do for the citizens of Nash County. The second person and group that I want to say thanks to is our county manager and his staff. We may have the best county manager there is in North Carolina. I don't know them all, but we have a great one. I did make a commitment to my board when I came up here to do this that I wouldn't clap for myself, so you won't be seeing me do that. Saw enough of that one night last week. Mr. Lamb hadn't been here that long, just finished up his 3rd year, but he brought 4th year. Is it 4th year?
Yeah,
Okay, fourth year, excuse me. Time passes quickly when you get to be our age. The thing that he has done for Nash County, he's brought a tremendous list of new ideas to us. He is very well liked throughout the county. A county manager role is a very public role, and you certainly have to be visible, you have to be cordial to your citizens, and you have to participate in events throughout the county. And I do know that I don't think anyone would do any better job than that, than what Mr. Lamb does. And most important to us, I think, is the fact that he is one of the key reasons that this board works together as well as we do. He strives to make sure we're well-informed, every board member, and it just makes it a lot easier for us to work together. The next group, of course, is our manager staff and our department heads. We have some great people in Nash County in these positions. Again, probably overall, from top to bottom, the best group there is in North Carolina. And I'm not clapping for myself, I'm clapping for the department heads and the manager staff. We did lose two key positions during 2017 in the assistant county manager and our county engineer and utility director. But just look at who we were able to replace them with. Mike Tolson and Stacy Setzler. We didn't miss a beat, quite frankly. And the reason that we were able to get this caliber employee to come to Nash County is simply because the word is out there that we have a very professional group over here. Our staff gets along well, and I just think it should be a good place for a person to want to work. And apparently it is, because we have been able to find great people to fill these two positions, one of them in-house and one of them from outside. And then the very large group that we need to thank today is our employees, period. I'm not sure how many we have this morning, Mr. Lamb, how many employees we have, 650 thereabout. But I don't know every one of you. I do know quite a few of you. But I will say it's very, very rare, if ever, that our board gets a complaint about how a person was treated, as we heard this morning from one of the speakers. That's key. We must understand that we work for the public, and our people just do a great job of that. They're very knowledgeable, and quite frankly, Mr. Lamb, you might have an easy job looking at the staff that you've got from top to bottom and all the employees that we have, because we just have a great group of employees here in Nash County, and I want to thank each one of you on behalf of the board. But most important, the last group that we need to thank is the citizens of Nash County. The citizens of Nash County treat us well as an elected board. They know that we can't do everything, or we can't supply the funds for everything that an individual may want. But they work with us very well, and we certainly understand as a board that that's who we are here to represent. Why this year to do a state of the county? Simply put, 2017 was a great year for Nash County. This, in many ways, which I will briefly try to summarize as quick as I can. Starting out in January, or beginning of the year, we had a new board member to join us, Mr. Dan Combs. We had new officers, which we do every year. I was privileged to be elected chair. Wayne Outlaw was privileged to be elected vice chair. And last year, I made an effort to try to make the vice chair position more responsible and involved, and not just been a position on our board. And it has helped me out tremendously, Mr. Outlaw. I want to thank you for the work you've done throughout the year. A few major accomplishments that I think that we were able to do there in the year. Back in March, we had our first tri-county meeting between Nash, Edgecombe, and Wilson County. The elected officials had it over in Sharpsburg one morning. I thought it was a very useful meeting, And we kind of challenged one of the other two counties to have one this year, and I hope we get the call pretty soon, but it's in their hands to do that. We have many things that we could work together on, and some that we have worked together on this year. A joint resolution was done by the three counties, and I don't know that this would have happened had we not had that meeting back in March. And it was along House Bill 608, the Family Child Protection Act, which was a very important thing to each one of us, and fortunately we were able to not have that go into effect. And working together like that as a group of many counties, particularly the three Tri-County area, I think is in the best interest of all of us. Another milestone we had that I still give our clerk that a boy accolades for is we had the longest public hearing that we had ever had, which was 5 hours and 20 minutes and 151 pages of minutes. We hope we found a way to do that in a different way moving forward, so if we have one that long again, we won't have to put it word for word. We received another item that had never happened before. We received multiple awards at our County Commissioners Association meeting this year from the credit union, and I think it was 5 overall, if I remember correctly. And generally, we might win an award, but for one county to win that many in 1 year was unheard of. And again, it's because of the employee base that we have here in Nash County. Another milestone, we, as the board, decided to hire our first ever retail economic developer. We got that person to work, Susan Phelps, in November, who is with us this morning, and we look forward to having that position help all of our smaller counties throughout Nash County, smaller cities throughout Nash County, to bring more retail type businesses. And I know she's out running hard because I get an email about every second or third day telling me where she's going to be the next night. But I look forward to seeing that help Nash County quite a bit in building its tax base. One thing that we said, and back in January of last year on our service awards, we gave out awards to many employees for their longevity in Nash County. But this again is a testament to the type of employees we had. We gave an award to one employee at 35 years of service. We gave an award to 4 employees that had 30 years of service. We gave an award to 6 employees with 25 years of service, and we gave an award to 20 employees that had 20 years of service. We began this year having a second meeting, or last year having a second meeting of the month in 10 of the months, and I think that has helped us a lot. It has decreased the number of call meetings we've had to do, and it also gives us a chance as a board to get some knowledge of what each individual board member does when he serves on various committees that we have each one of us serving on. A very important thing this year that took quite a while to get done, but we were able to transition from East Point to Trillium as far as our mental health provider and the services that it needs. We spent a tremendous amount of time, energy, and money in legal bills in getting that done, but it's obvious that we did the right thing. We contemplated doing several different things, but in the end, I think we all, as board members, would agree that we ended up where we needed to be, which was the eastern part of North Carolina with Trillium, and I look forward to being with them for a long time and been able to help those citizens in our county that need those services, because if you've had any experience in that in your family, it's just something that it's very important to have the type people to help you with your loved ones when they suffer in that kind of way. Another important item that we were able to do for the first time in a long time is to install a commission on the Nash UNC Health Board. We'd gone a long time without a member on that board, and it's a county-owned hospital. And it's just, at sometimes we had a little bit of problem with communications and getting information in a timely manner. But by putting a board member on there who happens to be Ms. Barnes, and I'll thank her in her absence for agreeing to do that job, it's a very time-consuming job. But I can honestly say the relationship with our hospital has improved greatly. We now receive reports from the hospital in a very timely manner. There are lots of communication. I hear from their chairman very frequently, at least every couple of weeks. And quite frankly, I do now feel that the hospital is headed in a very positive direction. The problems in health care are numerous. As we all know, it's a very complicated subject, but at least I feel good, and I hope, and I think the rest of the board members feel that we have at least got it trending, or that we don't, but the UNC Board of Commissioners has it trending in the right direction. And it's a pleasure to get that turned around, and I think putting a board member on that board, a commissioner on there, has helped quite a bit. As we do most years, back in January, we received our very clean audit from our new audit firm, Thomas Price, Scott, and Adams. Ms. Wood, you and your staff apparently do a great job there. We had no findings that they mentioned whatsoever. I read quite a bit, and quite a few counties have something said about something they're doing, but we didn't have anything other than positive comments. And of course, we do know that the county is in great shape. Financial condition of the county, we went into last year a little apprehensive because we were in a year where we would put in effect a new reval, which means we had to revalue all the property in the county. We started this process with myself and Mr. Belfield arguing over what it, not arguing, but discussing. Me and my wife arguing, me and Mr. Belfield discussed. But me and my wife really don't argue. She may look at this on TV. I better correct that. But we were a little bit far ends of where we would be at the end of it. And the early signs showed we would have a pretty significant decrease in total assessed value, which directly affects what we would be able to do for the citizens of Nash County. As we worked through it, it got better. The economy got better. And in the end, it was much better than what we thought it would be. It ended up being about a 2% decrease in total assessed value. But Mr. Belfield, I will be glad to say publicly this morning that you were right and I was wrong, and I'm glad you were right and I was wrong, because it would have been much more severe. We had worked hard, though, even at that 2%, it's difficult, because on a reval year is when a county expects to pick up some additional revenue moving forward for the next 8 years. We hear the term revenue neutral all the time, and I think we use that a little bit to increase taxes with maybe our citizens not understanding that we did really increase it. But this time we had something different that Nash County had never dealt with, and it was a reduction in total assessed value. But we were ready. We were ready because our staff and this board had worked for the previous 2 years at least in reducing our expenses, knowing that it would come. And quite frankly, after the reval, it went very, very smooth. We were able to maintain our same tax rate for the 8th year in a row, and a governmental agency that has a tax rate for 8 years without changing it is pretty much unheard of, and I'm glad Nash County is able to do that for their citizens, and I'm glad the staff does the things that it takes to do that. The revenue neutral rate should have been 69.44%, or a 3% increase, but we were able to maintain it at 67. And that's just, again, the reflection of the manager staff and department heads that we have and the willingness to be able to get ready for that. Our fund balance still remains in excellent shape. We are very blessed to have the fund balance that we have, but it doesn't come without some pain along the way. We are in the area of the state of North Carolina that things could be much worse. We are lucky because this board, as well as many boards before us, has worked very hard through its managers staff and employees to ensure that Nash County stays physically sound, and I don't think you'd have another county in eastern North Carolina that would have the fund balance or the bond rating that we have. And we just are very blessed to have that. The real highlight for 2017, and Ms. Richardson, I'm getting near the end, is our capital improvements for last year. We have, for the last 5 years, worked on capital improvements quite a bit because we had a lot of needs. But this past year, it just almost seemed to explode what we were able to accomplish. I, coming out of the side of private enterprise, always thinks it takes way too long in government to get something done, and it still does take a long time, but we have shortened that curve in 2017 quite a bit. And we did that by our manager and his staff agreeing at the beginning of the year to put an emphasis on capital improvement and try to move part of these projects forward. And just a list of them without giving any detail is number one, right next door to us, you'll see the courthouse going up. It moved quite a bit during 2017 and will be occupied. I won't even commit our engineer to tell us when that is, but sometime in the fall is when we expect to occupy that. We now have our Middlesex Shell building down in the Middlesex Industrial Park in the southern part of the county under contract. Actually work been done. We have talked about that project for a number of years, but it will help us to bring another industry, I think, very quickly to Nash County once we get that up. Another item in the southern part of the county is our Southern Senior Center, which will be at the Middlesex Bailey Park, another item that we have talked about quite a bit. We had our pre-construction meeting on that week before last. It is under contract, and work will be going on very, very soon. The third part that Nash County actually is undertaking, which is the Miracle Park at Cooper's community, has now been advanced to the engineering stage. We have selected a consultant to do those plans, and we are meeting periodically to get that done, and you'll see it under contract hopefully in late spring or early summer. The Nashville EMS station was completed and occupied at the very beginning of last year. Another project that was very important, a small project, but the number of years we had talked about it, was to enclose the second building at the farmer's market up in Rocky Mount. We put doors on that building so it was a much more multi-use building, and primary reason was to be able to keep the birds out of there and make it more inviting to the citizens to come to it. Community college. I don't know how many of you get to visit the community college, but that is really a real feather in Nash County's hat, to be able to pull off a 64 and pull on that facility, and it is continuing to grow. During 17, which are still under construction, we are, with bond money that came from the state, able to construct 2 new buildings, engineering building and a cosmetology lab. They'll be put into service before the end of the year. We were able to complete the Drocker Elevator Road out in the Whitaker's Industrial Park, which allowed another industry that we had, which is always important to help the industries that are already here in Nash County expand and move into their own building. We have the C&D landfill expansion under contract. Those bids have been let and we awarded it. Our Viper radio system, what we were able to do last year on that is to move to the point that we decided which way we were going to go, and very soon you'll see us purchasing those radios and moving forward with a new system for our emergency services. The 97 sewer project was completed there in 2017. That ran sewer to the industrial park out on 97. That was the last utility that we did not have that we are responsible for. We now have water, sewer, gas, and at that site, and quite frankly have a tremendous amount of interest in it, and hope we have an announcement on an industry coming to that site pretty soon. Northern Nash Water System. This is another one that we have worked on for a very long time. As you know, we began about 8 years ago, 10 years ago, trying to get water throughout Nash County. We were a little late starting that, but we have completed a large portion of it in the southern part of the county. And we wanted to do, because of the density of population, the Red Oak, Dorchester area next, which we call the Northern Nash Water System. We are pleased to say that we were able to get that under design during 2017 and expect to let bids sometime in May of this year for that water system. So if you go through that part of the county, we hope very soon you'll see those green spaghetti-looking pipes laying beside the road, and those going in, because we do have quite a bit of needs out there. We were able to work with the town of Castalia and purchase their water system from them, something that Ms. Richardson felt we needed to do, because it's just tough to maintain a small utility like that with a small town, and it's much easier to do in a larger organization like Nash County. We also took and purchased the Dorchester's water and sewer system during 2017. And there again, it helped those towns to be able to continue having that utility for their citizens that are located in Nash County. We had a great year in grant receipts for Nash County, our best year ever. I personally have never been a fond person of grants because, you know, all money comes from somewhere, and it comes from the taxpayer. But I've learned, just like incentives in industrial recruitment, as long as everybody else is doing it, you're not going to be able to survive if you don't participate in it. There was grant money available in numerous things that we were working on. We were able to apply for it, and quite frankly, we have a great success rate in that. And in the month of August, according to my calculations, it was pretty close to a $10 million grant month for us. And Ms. McGee, I thank you for that, and your people that worked on those. We were able to get a grant from Trillion for our part that we are doing, a party grant from the state for the part that we are doing. We were able to get money in a local appropriation from our Senate for that part. And then the biggest one that ran it up to the $10 million level was the water system in the Northern Nash district that we wanted to start, and quite frankly, this enabled us to start it, that we received a very large grant there, as well as some extremely low, or in one case, no interest loans, which is almost a grant in itself, but that allowed us to move forward with that. Those are the significant items under capital improvement. There are many others that we were also able to do. Of course, with success, there are always things that you didn't accomplish. And really, there are two or three that I'm somewhat disappointed, and I know some of our other board members are disappointed that we didn't get done, but believe me, we are not going to drop them by the wayside. One of them is, and a very important one for every citizen, is our county-wide internet system. This is very sorely needed for those people that work from home, for the children of Nash County that now do quite a bit of their homework. Believe me, it's not done because our board didn't work on it. We had a committee on it pretty much full-time the whole year. Mr. Outlaw, I know you've learned a lot, as well as Ms. Barnes and the rest of you serve on that committee, but it is a very complicated item, way more than what I thought it would be, and very hard to fund. But we hope to have in the first quarter of 18 that resolved and underway. So please stand by with us. We made a commitment back in January that we were going to improve the relationships with our school system. We did make some small improvements, but quite frankly, I'll take this very personally, and we didn't get near as far as what I hoped we would get. There's still quite a bit of mistrust between the school board and the board of commissioners. We're working very hard to correct that problem, and it was caused by probably our funding changes that we did a couple of years prior to that. But we've just got to improve that relationship, and I actually think we have a meeting on Wednesday this week is that right, to hopefully another step in that between the two staffs. But we have got to improve our public school system in Nash County. That just affects so many other things. And we're at a point where we need to do capital spending. When we finish these 2 buildings at the community college, it's going to free up space that we're going to move and enlarge our early college out there and be able to double the number of participants in that. And we have worked together on that particular project to come to a consensus of how our board could fund that. And then our next big capital spending project is a new elementary school in that general Red Oak area to replace some schools up there that desperately need replacing. And that's where we have a challenge in the next year that we've just got to get our heads together and get that resolved. I will say, I think our board is ready to work with the school system ever how we see fit, and I would certainly challenge the school board to work with us and let us do what's right for the children of Nash County and for their education. With that said, my time is a little bit past what I wanted to do, but I just again want to thank the employee base of Nash County from top to bottom on behalf of our board, and our board again for working to improve Nash County and to make it better for all Nash County citizens. Thank you. We're now on item 9 of our agenda, which is North Carolina parental and maternal substance abuse and caseworks for our family initiative. And I would call on, according to my agenda, Bert Grimes and Tammy Streeter Spate for this presentation. Are they with us this morning? Yes. Yes, sir. Stacy, do you need to kick it off, or?
And also Dave Peterson's here with Trillium.
Okay, and Dave Peterson is here with Trillium also. Good morning. And you are Bert Grimes.
Yes, sir, I am.
Welcome to Nash County.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And on behalf of our CEO at Robinson Healthcare, Tim Hall, and our board of directors, really like to, again, say thank you for allowing us to be here, present on Robinson Healthcare, and take up a little bit of time on your busy agenda this morning. So, again, my name is Bart Grimes. I am the Chief of Behavioral Health at Robinson Healthcare. And when I was notified last week that I would be able to be here in front of you to talk about Robinson Healthcare, I thought, what a great opportunity. We need to be here. It gives us a great place, a great way for us to explain what we do at Robinson Healthcare. And then I realized that it was a holiday on Monday. And so I really do appreciate you guys being here and taking your Super Bowl Monday to spend time with us. I know most of the nation's probably off today, so, but thank you very much. I do have with me Tammy Streeter Spate, who is our program director at a similar program, CASAWorks program in Village, at the Village in Greenville, and Dave Peterson, who is representing Trillium, who has been a longtime partner of Robinson Healthcare and supportive of the mission that we have. So I just wanted to let you know that what I have to say today, I feel like is relevant to what you need to know about the CASAWorks program. But just because I feel that it's relevant doesn't necessarily mean that that's the information that you need or want from me. So I have a presentation here. It's yours to keep. If we vary from it, if you have questions, please stop me at any time, and I will try to address those questions as they come up. We do have a Robinson Healthcare, just a mission statement, briefly stated that in the communities that we work in, we are just trying to improve the health outcomes of the communities and the individuals who work and live in that community. So who is Robinson Healthcare? Let's see if I can pull this up real quick on my phone so I can see it. Up until about 6 months ago, I was using a BlackBerry. Now I have this wonderful iPhone that does everything for me. But Robinson Healthcare started in the 1970s when a couple of, or several primary care doctors' offices in the Robinson County community merged together to form an agency that was called Robinson Healthcare Corporation. It was incorporated in 1985, so we've been around for a long time. We are a FQHC, Federally Qualified Health Center, and we consist of 7 community health centers and 6 substance abuse treatment residential programs in 8 North Carolina counties. Nash County is served by Carolina Family Health Centers, so a similar program, you probably are familiar with them. We are accredited by the Joint Commission, which is the type of organization that accredits hospital organizations, and we were the second FQHC in the country to receive that accreditation, and we've been a member since 1992. And for this year, this current fiscal year, our budget's about $18 million. So we've grown quite a bit in the last several years. The section that I'm in charge of is, we refer to that internally as PCS, or Professional Counseling Services. It's the behavioral health arm of our organization. And most of the services that we provide are what's called residential substance abuse services or supervised living. One of those programs is CASAWorks, which is why I'm here today. But we also have a couple of complementary programs that go along with the CASAWorks program, referred to as a perinatal program, maternal program. We also have a transitional housing facility, a recovery program for men. In our health centers, we have an integrated system of behavioral health and primary health care. And we also have a prevention program, a substance abuse prevention program, which is similar to your Families in Action, Phil Moring's program. I'm sure he's probably been here in front of this commission, your commissioners, many times. So what is CASAWorks for families? Back in the late 80s, early 90s, the state of North Carolina received a grant through the Substance Abuse Block Grant money, federal money, to try to reduce the infant mortality rates in North Carolina. One of the factors that was related to that had to do with substance abusing women who were trying to parent their children while they were in active addiction and also trying to recover from addiction. I think North Carolina was ranked back in those days somewhere around 48th, 49th in the country in infant mortality. So these programs were started back then and have evolved over the years. The CASAWorks program is affiliated with the Work First program, or TANF, where women who are receiving social services benefits are able to participate in this program, receive their Work First, and receive substance abuse treatment simultaneously. They are able to supplement their treatment in lieu of actually applying for working at a job for several months. The women who are involved in this program are able to be there for approximately 1 year. That time frame shifts from time to time depending on medical necessity and the authorizations that we're able to receive, because the women are receiving Medicaid and we're billing Medicaid for those substance abuse treatment services. I think it's important to note that the children of those women are able to participate in treatment, live with them in an apartment-based complex, which I'll show you some pictures of in just a minute. But we treat the family as a whole. And I think that you know that through some of the wonderful initiatives you have in this community, that substance abuse is definitely a huge issue. It's received a lot of attention recently with the opiate epidemic. And treating families as a whole seems to have a better outcome than treating individuals by themselves. Each CASAWorks site is licensed for eight individuals, not including the children. So we have what we refer to as 8 beds. In the apartment-based complexes that we have, it would be 8 apartments. Just a little map of where we are. We are located, we have a CASAWorks program in Vass, North Carolina, which is on Highway 1 in between Sanford and Southern Pines. We're also in Smithfield, North Carolina, right off I-95, close by to you guys. And then we're also in Greenville. So the program that we're going to be talking about today, our proposal will be kind of sandwiched in between those two sites, which logistically for us is convenient, and it's in a good place in the state. And then we're also located, some of our other sites, we're down in Robeson County, several sites there. And our medical sites are located in Columbus County, Robeson County, and Scotland County. And then we have another program that's up in Montgomery County, which is Star, North Carolina, which is exactly the center of the state. They actually have a big star in the middle of their intersection in Star, North Carolina. So the Costa Works program, supervised living facility. What is it? Again, what we have to offer, we take extraordinary efforts to hire highly credentialed and trained individuals, but also to continue to provide them training and work and ongoing educational opportunities in order to improve their skills. So everyone that we hire, I would consider as their boss to be highly trained and very competent. The programs offer substance abuse counseling every day. We offer what's called a SACOT program. It's a substance abuse comprehensive outpatient treatment combined with the residential component. It's a hybrid program. They receive a minimum of 4 hours of substance abuse or 4 hours of direct counseling education every day. So 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. We provide on-site babysitting so that the women are in services, their children are being taken care of on-site, which is really convenient. We also work with the Work First initiative to be able to get those children daycare, private daycare. We provide case management services, which are essential in helping women progress from service to service, to outline what their needs are, what their strengths are, problems, issues, things of that nature that we're able to address and have someone assist them in following up. We provide on-site medication monitoring, which means we maintain their medication. They come to us in an office and we help administer that medication, making sure they're getting the correct medication, they're taking it as prescribed, and they learn how to manage their own medication through that modeling process. We provide parenting training and education, employment training, education, resume, how to dress for job interviews, that kind of thing, activities of daily living. They do live in their own apartments, so learning how to cook, clean, take care of their children. They do not have to pay any bills, but we talk about what it's like to live on your own and paying your bills on time. We also we highly encourage 12-step program involvement and give them opportunities to attend those programs, which, again, once they leave our care, there needs to be support in the community for them to go to that they're aware of. The admission criteria. The minimum age is 18. We tend to see our clients tend to be a little bit older than that, but essentially, adult women. They have a primary substance use diagnosis and have less than 30 days of sobriety. They have at least one child under the age of 11, and they have to be receiving the Work First family assistance or be eligible at the time that we're working towards the referral and admitting them. First picture here is of Cambridge Place, which is in Smithfield. Just to give you an example, I know everybody's seen an apartment building before. This is the one this is in Smithfield. The next one is the Village, which is in Greenville at Tammy Streeter Spate manages. And then the last one is the program at Crystal Lake, which you can't see it, but the picture was taken standing right in front of a very nice, large lake. And if you're a fan of the Halloween movies, you know where Jason comes from, Crystal Lake. So I put this slide in just to let you know that oftentimes what happens is that a woman who completes our program maybe isn't quite ready to move on her own and live independently. And we have this program down at, in Lumberton called Grace Court, and it is what's called transitional housing. And so it is a step between a very structured treatment program, like we provide at Casa Works, and living independently. And it's a 24-bed apartment complex. Actually, Robson Healthcare built and owns since 1996. Like I said, there's 24 apartments, 12 two-bedroom and 2 3-bedroom. And just so you know that we are not just totally gender-specific, and think that everybody needs to be treated. We do have a men's program as well. It's located in Lumberton. It's all under one roof. It's 9 beds, and it stays about 99% full. We could probably have 6 more of those and, and keep them full all the time. And lastly, I mentioned prevention services, but it's something that it assists us in providing our care. We have these prevention programs. Our staff are able to come out and do prevention activities with the children. They are able to get a lot of educational materials through this program that we can then share with our residential sites. Again, my name is Bart Grimes. My information's here. I am open to questions. Tammy Streeter Spate could also answer questions if I'm unable to answer. Again, I really appreciate your time.
Cool. Thank you, Mr. Grimes. There is no action required from the board on this item this morning. Do you have any questions of the presenters at this time, or any comments?
Yes. Do you have any interest in building one of those homes here in the Nash County area?
We would love to be able to build our own site, and I appreciate the question. We have blueprints and plans to do that. We're on a time schedule right now. It's pretty tight, and so what we would like to do is to try to find an apartment complex like the Cambridge Place and Crystal Lake that I showed you, and rent those apartments, have them licensed by the state of North Carolina for residential program, and provide our services out of there to get started. And eventually, if time permits and as we move forward, to be able to find some property that's in a really good location and build a similar program.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Reading information that before the meeting, I read in there that somewhere that some women are reluctant to have to leave home, especially if they have children. And of course, you do have in your program where you could take care of, handle the children, but do you have much of a problem with that in areas where you're serving now, with women refusing to leave their home because of small children?
Yes, sir, that is definitely a barrier. That's a barrier for anyone wanting substance abuse treatment that needs the level of residential care that we offer. And so by having or allowing or encouraging women to bring their children, it eliminates that barrier, or at least lowers it. Most of the time, a person who is at that point in their life where they are basically out of control, they'll do just about anything to get in. But once they get in, sometimes they realize the steps that they've made, and the fog clears up, and then they'll start having some second thoughts around being there. And but given that opportunity, if we can open the door and get them in, then we feel like we have the opportunity to keep them, capture them, and share with them what we're going to be able to do to help them, and explain that we're only talking about a few months, 6, 7, 8 months, that then their whole life can turn around in that period of time. But it's, as you know, I mean, if you're a parent, it would have to be really, really difficult to step away from your children to take care of yourself, which sometimes is necessary, but this definitely eliminates that barrier.
What's the max, 9 months?
Well, the program was designed for a year. Most of the time, the women don't stay quite that long. Things have just changed since the grant was originally written. At one point in time, we used to go around and do presentations like this, and would say like our perinatal program, which is for women that are pregnant, and they could come into the program as soon as they found out they were pregnant. They could stay up to 1 year postpartum, and then they can move on to Grace Court to transitional living, which essentially puts them in almost a 4-year program, and there was no other place in the country that a person could go and be involved in treatment for 4 consecutive years. But things have changed, and we try to push everything a little bit tighter. It has to do with, of course, like everything, money and financing, and also there's a lot more demand now than there was, say, 20 years ago, and we're trying to move people in and out as quickly as possible so that everyone has an opportunity.
All right, thank you for your remarks.
Yes, sir.
Greatly appreciate you being here. Dave Peterson, since you're with us this morning, do you want to, on behalf of Trillion, add to why this is important to Nash County? Just glad to have you this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it, and thank you, Bart, for that presentation. I just want to add to some of your comments you said in your last year's review. We really do appreciate your all's support because you've been very supportive of Trillium, and so I will add that there's at least one other county, possibly 2 other counties that want this funding from the state, and this is a direct allocation from the state to Trillium to set up this program. And me being the representative of Nash County, I said, well, let's try to see if we can get it out at Nash County first. And so we really hope that this can move forward in this county. I know it's going to be difficult finding 8 apartments, but we want to try to implement that here. So,
Well, we work better on specific charges. What specifically can our board do to help you get this to Nash County? Are you asking us to help you find those apartments? So y'all got a team that does that, or?
we do have folks. We have a group from our housing department that has been already looking in Nash County, and Robeson has also been out here scoping some of the different properties. But if any of you have any connections that can help us with that process, that would be great.
History of it, does it blend in well, I guess, with a larger complex, would say 50 or 60 to have a building in that particular larger complex? I'm sure it must work because you're doing it in too many places for it not to.
I'll let Bart answer that one.
Yeah, so we have several different models. One is where we're blended in with other residents, with as many as maybe 75 to 100 other residents, and then we have some standalone buildings that are, we rent the entire complex. Both work, they have their own individual issues that we have to overcome, but what we were looking for here would be anything that's available. We would like to keep the apartments as close together as possible,
Right.
Just for oversight purposes.
I guess it would have to be important because all areas have desirable locations and some have some crime challenged locations. I guess you got to be looking for some areas that have an environment that would be conducive to what you're doing, I would think, would you not?
Yes, sir. And as well as the location towards local resources in this area.
Right.
The health department here, social services here, hospitals 10 minutes away.
Okay.
Nashville's a great location. Rocky Mount seems to have more housing available, or potential housing available, but we can make either place work.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we greatly appreciate both of you being here, and we'll see if we can help you somehow find what you're looking for.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you all. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing located in Commissioner Combs' district. It is at 8114 Old Middlesex Road from R40 to RC, Rural Commercial. And I call on Ms. Nixon, who has come while I'm looking down, to present it. Good morning.
Good morning. What we have this morning, as the chairman mentioned, is a petition by property owners Larry Finch, Barbara Finch, Angela Finch Stallings, Carolyn Finch Ellis, and Gordon Finch to rezone about 3/4 of an acre. It's about 0.72 acres. Portions of a tract is located at, let me give you the aerial photo. First, this is the outline there in red is the portion of the property that is being sought for rezoning. Just to give you an idea, this property is located just west of the ETJ of Bailey. You can see in this zoning one, this is where Bailey's ETJ ends, and so this is right in our jurisdiction. And you can see the surrounding properties, for the most part, are zoned residential. And there is one, this sort of pink or salmon-colored block here is currently zoned RC Rural Commercial, which is the zoning district that's being sought here today for expansion into this red line area. So just to give you one more map to look at. The property, get my pen for this one. This property has recently been subdivided. This pink line that you see here is a zoning line. It's not a property line, where you see that pink block. And so that what has happened is this property here, this portion of that property has been subdivided into a separate lot. And then this portion, which on this map is surrounded by that kind of dark green line, is a separate parcel. So you can see from this that the commercial zoning, the RC zoning that exists out in the field right now is partially incorporated in this new lot. So what we have in the new lot then is sort of a split zone where part of it is residential and part of it is commercial. Going back to the aerial photo, you can also see, let me make one more observation here. You can see that this building, which is shown in the new lot, there's a building here that is on the new lot, and that is this building here, and the shed, I believe that is back there. This building at 8114 has been used as part of the commercial the commercial and non-residential operations on this lot for a number of years. But as you can see, as sometimes happens when you have a commercial space that encompasses a portion of your property, over a period of time, some of that commercial activity starts to leak over into the portion of it that's not zoned. And that's, I think, what has happened over the years in this area. You can see a line of some materials and vehicles and things in this area that are just outside of the commercial boundary. But what the, let's see. In your packet, it describes some of the non-residential activity that has been on the site over the years. It has been mostly farm equipment repairs, heavy equipment, construction, grading contractors. So it's been a site that's had some equipment-related uses over a number of years. The property is in the Neuse River Basin. It's not located in floodplain or watershed protection district. Don't have riparian stream buffers affected. Future development could require, back to the zoning map, future development of the site could require some residential screening buffers to be installed along these lines, which are adjacent to the residential property, depending on what happens on the site. Okay. See, the commercial zone, as you know, is intended to accommodate sort of local businesses and business opportunities in the rural areas. Typically, we find them at or near intersections. I will note again that this is a general rezoning. It is a request for RC rural commercial zoning, and so in your packet you'll find a list of permitted uses in the district, a vote to redistrict. This property would include all of the permitted uses in the district, so please keep that in mind going forward. In terms of consistency with the land development plan, as you know, the land development plan recommends some locational criteria when you're going to put non-residential rural commercial land uses within a suburban growth area. And suburban growth is how the land development plan classifies this area where we find this rezoning request. And those are frontage and access to a major state highway or secondary road. Of course, this is very close, and really the request is expanding that rural commercial from being right at the intersection to the next property over. So it is, does have frontage, and it is very right at the intersection. Also proximity to some similar uses. Obviously, it's an expansion of the existing uses on the adjacent property, and it's an expansion to allow the commercial district on the entirety of the tract that includes the commercial building at 8114. And then again, the other criteria for, just went right out of my head, for commercial or non-residential uses in that suburban growth land use area is a spatial separation from non-compatible uses like residential uses. And as I mentioned previously, there is a possibility, depending on what happens on this newly rezoned piece of property, should it be rezoned, about what happens and what would be developed, and it would go next to the residential properties. So the subject site does have a history of prior commercial uses ever since about the mid-90s, and it is adjacent to another commercial or non-residential use. In terms of spot zoning, it would not be considered spot zoning because it's an expansion of an existing commercial district. Pause a second, and then the TRC recommendation. The Technical Review Committee considered this general rezoning request on December the 28th, recommended approval based on its determination that it is not spot zoning and it is consistent with the land development plan. Then the Planning Board met on January the 16th, considered the item, and voted unanimously for consistency statement A, followed by a unanimous vote to recommend approval. And with that, a little bit quick, we'll
Okay.
glad to take any questions.
All right, prior to calling for a public hearing, does any board member have any questions of Ms. Nixon on this item, Mr. Belfield?
In connection with this rezoning, and you mentioned about this possible housing development near there, wouldn't it be appropriate to build that buffer now rather than waiting until housing and put there, which sometime possibly could come up with some difficulties in that being done?
Well, because this is a general rezoning and not a conditional use rezoning, it's not possible for us to require that at this point in time. So we could check and see if there's anything on the site that would warrant that right now. But under our ordinances, but typically we add those conditions to put those buffers in now when we have a conditional use rezoning. You can't put conditions on a general rezoning.
Could you do it later?
Yes, that's at the time the development was proposed, you could,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Other questions of Ms. Nixon? Thank you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, well, I better back up a step. I'd entertain a motion to call for a public hearing on this item at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Outlaw,
Second.
second by Ms. Richardson. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Ladies and gentlemen, we're now in public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to come and speak for or against this item, this is the time to do it. Come to the podium, identify yourself, and give us an address. Good morning, sir.
Morning. My name is Larry Finch, and I'm the son of well, that's where I was born at, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, it's on the right-hand side where you see, I'm sure you have the same plat that we have. There's a back in the past, and it's still there today, there's a fertilizer house. Okay. You got the red line over to the right, to the paved road, that's a fertilizer house. And right behind that, my father, they had another fertilizer house where he sold fertilizer with Kaiser Chemicals out of Wilson. Okay, beyond that, this shop was built here, and it was used as a shop. And my brother and I, if you look in the area that's straight down through there, that could be, we had pans and dozers and excavators and stuff like that. And we used this as our construction place, where that little building is, little shop behind it, and that area we parked our equipment. And we just, right at this point in time, with everything like it is, we need that piece in and out. It's not enough room, it looks like it is, but you can't put a house in there without taking the building down, because it's just a little small strip down through there. And we'd like to kind of keep it just like it's been for years.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Finch from board members? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir, thank y'all.
Anyone else wish to speak at the public hearing for or against this item? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Moved by Mr. Combs, second by Ms. Wells. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. We're now at the point to vote on this item. It's a two-part motion. First motion I would need is a motion to approve either consistency statement A or consistency statement B, understanding that the planning board approved consistency statement A unanimously.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Combs.
I'd make a motion that we approve consistency statement A, request for rezoning.
All right, have a motion there, second to that motion.
Second.
Second by Ms. Wells. Any question from a board member on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries. Second part is to approve or deny the rezoning at this time. I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
I make a
Combs.
motion we approve rezoning request.
All right, have a
Second.
motion by
Second.
Commissioner Combs. I have a second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. That motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Finch. Next item on the agenda is another public hearing. It is, I will remind the board, a quasi-judicial public hearing to rezone a tract of land at the corner of Old Mill Road and South Halifax Road. It's located in Commissioner Outlaw's district. I remind you that as a board member, we need to listen to all the presentation and then decide what you want to do with this item as well. Ms. Nixon, you want to present at this time?
I will, thank you. This is a request, a petition by Steve Looper, property owner, and he is present today, to rezone approximately 10 acres at the southeast corner of the intersection of Old Mill Road and South Halifax Road. This is Old Mill Road coming here, and South Halifax, Westmount is down here. Okay. Here's another one, let's see. This is made by Steve Looper, who's the owner. He was requesting to rezone the acreage that's shown from, it is portions of 3 different tracts, one here, portion of this tract, and a portion of this larger tract as well. And they are requesting rezoning from R30 single and 2-family residential to RCCU, which is a rural commercial conditional use. And this is to authorize the development of landscape and horticultural service with an outdoor storage yard. On the property, you can see that some clearing had taken place at the time that this photo was taken to begin that. The subject site is located near Westmount. Approximately 3 acres of the site has been cleared and is actually already in operation as an outdoor storage yard. This site was originally investigated when it came to us as a complaint from the area, and it was late last summer. It did go to the planning board. I'll get to that in just a minute, but it was originally investigated under a complaint, and no zoning authorization for the business has been granted to date, as is our usual custom. As soon as when we notified the property owner, he came immediately to our office and applied for the rezoning and to take it to the planning board, as is our usual custom when we have a case that's an investigation like that when it is not something that's of imminent danger or an imminent problem, then we put a stay on the enforcement until it gets through the process. In this particular case, the process has taken longer than it sometimes does to get through that, and I'll tell you why in just a minute as we go forward. But anyway, we have a site plan for consideration as part of the rezoning, as part of the request today. And what this shows, it shows the cleared area. There's kind of a lot of things on here. It does show the gravel area on the site, the area that's been cleared. Also includes an outdoor storage area. This yellow is an area of 100-year flood zone, and this kind of red hashed area shows what's called a non-encroachment area along Great Branch, which is a waterway that's along the southern part of the boundary. The property is currently used for more of a hardscape. It's more rock and mulch, rock and soil, and not so much plants as you might see in a horticulture and a nursery type operation, although the land use being requested would allow expansion for some of that more retail use in the future. The current operation tends to work under a sort of a contractor where this is more of a storage site, and the contractor and the owner and his workers take the materials from this site to the construction site wherever they're doing work, and the work is done there. So it's not a lot of retail type customers coming in at this point right now. The cleared outdoor storage yard, as you can see, is partially in the 100-year floodplain. At the time that this was brought to the planning board, there was some concern, or we did not have information because it was still in the part of an investigation. I guess that we did not have information about impacts on the environmental characteristics surrounding the site. And so we could see that it was partially in the floodplain, and it's approaching, and some of the property itself is within this non-encroachment area. Let's see. The applicant's residence is located on Old Mill Road here, and you can see this driveway as part of the site plan. This driveway comes in and utilizes some of that to exit if necessary. But this is a driveway coming in. This is shown as a future office and a future workshop. So there are 2 additional buildings added to the site plan that don't exist now. There are not immediate plans to construct those, but they are on the site plan for future development. The plan also depicts a 25-foot wide screening buffer yard, which is adjacent to residentially zoned or used property here at this corner. And it is currently, it's currently met through existing vegetation. Let's see where we are. Another thing I will show you that this, let's see, in terms of consistency with the land development plan, the land development plan designates the majority of the rezoning area as surface water protection area. That is, let's see if I have a map for that. I believe I do. This is a designation that's in the land development plan and serves as sort of a highlight to be sure that everyone is aware that the development is close to a waterway and that protections as necessary are taken or are considered in developing that property. The surface water protection area doesn't carry specific requirements or limitations on development within its boundaries. Okay. The remaining portion of the area is designated as suburban growth. Well, I'm not sure if I talked about zoning. Well, so let me back that up in just a minute. The remaining area is considered suburban growth by the land development plan. A landscape and horticultural service is a land use that can be accommodated by on-site water supplies, on-site septic systems. The site does have frontage and access at the intersection of 2 state-maintained secondary roads, of course, Old Mill Road and South Halifax. In terms of proximity to other existing land uses, this is the subject site here. Just north of it on Halifax Road is Allen's Nursery. Briar Creek Nursery is also located in this area around the corner to the south, just off of Westmount Drive. And also this area here at the Westmount intersection has a general commercial zoning at that intersection already. Okay. I'm back up just to go over this zoning, which I apologize I missed when I was going through the process before. As you can see, the majority of the property around the subject site is zoned for residential, but we do have some commercial development here to the south, commercial development, the similar use here, and a non-conforming pre-existing nursery up here to the north as well. In terms of spot zoning, the request would be considered spot zoning typically because it's not adjacent to any commercial or residentially zoned property. However, the North Carolina law allows spot zone in cases where local government establishes that the particular request is both reasonable and in the public interest. This request could be considered reasonable because the zoning area does include all portions of 3 separate tracts. That helps to increase its influence rather than being just one small tract. Let's see. Also, the limited nature of the conditional use rezoning request restricts the applicant to development of just the specific land uses and only in accordance with the approved plan. It is consistent with the recommendations of the Nash County Land Development Plan, which are those things like adjacent to major roads and being able to handle the use with on-site well and septic, those types of things. The site is also located in proximity to the existing other land uses, as we mentioned, and so that also helps to mitigate the spot zoning impacts. The TRC looked at this request around Labor Day of last year, and it went to the planning board, before Labor Day last year, but in August, because it went to the planning board at the end of August. And the planning board at that time did recommend consistency statement A, followed by a unanimous vote to recommend approval of the rezoning request, or to recommend approval of the request, subject to a number of conditions, and those conditions are contained in your packet. And because a number of the conditions were subject to investigations or reviews by state agencies or other external agencies, and they included some environmental information about wetlands and the sedimentation erosion control process and some floodplain issues, any of those kinds of things. The board recommended that the item not move forward to the Board of Commissioners until those reviews had been returned back and we knew whether there would need to be significant changes to the site plan or changes to the rezoning boundaries or those kind of things, just to kind of get more additional information that was specific to this site before it came forward to the board. So on your request, on your packet, the things that have been received and have been approved by those information from those external agencies, or some more information that is more specific, are highlighted there. And so those things include a survey with a meets and bounds description of the actual rezoning area, the NCDOT encroachment agreement regarding a sign. I can show you that. Hold on, let me get a picture if I can see that. I think I have it here. There's a sign placed at the entrance that had some, at the intersection, just in this area right here, and it had some very large stones initially, and that was some contention. Initially, this is what was placed out there. You can see the sign and a landscaped area that the sign sits at, and then some large stone here. It was determined that that stone is at the time was in the DOT's right-of-way. I think I have a closer picture. Here's a picture. There's the sign. Paddington Home Pro, and then that very large stone. And so one of the things that was recommended was to be sure that DOT was okay with the placement of the sign and the stone. And what has resulted is removal of some of that stone and then just putting in some smaller stone and the issuance of a DOT encroachment agreement. So that has been successfully resolved. Okay, in addition to that, the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality issued a determination regarding buffer issues, stating that no buffer issues, riparian buffer issues were identified with Great Branch, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers cleared the site of violations in December, following the restoration of 0.1 acres of wetlands from the area that was originally filled. And the erosion and sedimentation control, excuse me, has notified us that no issues of concern had been identified by them. And those constituted the major pieces of information that the planning board was concerned about, being sure that there were not problems that would affect the rezoning request. And so that's why we brought it forward with the remaining conditions today.
Okay,
If all that makes sense.
I think so.
Okay?
Any board member have any questions of Ms. Nixon at this time prior to calling for a public hearing? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Nixon. Ladies and gentlemen, this time, there I go again, jumping ahead of myself. I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Outlaw.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing concerning this request for a quasi-judicial public hearing at the intersection of rezoning, a conditional use rezoning at the intersection of Old Mill Road and South Halifax Road. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this item, if you come up and identify yourself, we would be delighted to hear from you at this time.
They need to be sworn in.
And we do need to be sworn in. What I asked for was anybody, any that want to speak for or against this item, if you could all step up momentarily, we swear you all in at one time. Okay, Mr. Looper, I'll turn it over to the attorney.
If y'all could put your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
Steve, if you'd identify yourself and your address. Good to see you this morning.
Thank you. Good to see y'all. Steve Looper. I live at 2913 Old Mill Road, and the property in question is 2925 Old Mill Road. I don't have any concerns. It's been a long process. I would like to thank the planning department for helping me go through that. A lot of people were involved getting to this point, and they've been very helpful.
Seemed like you mentioned this to me at the bank one day a year ago.
I did, just about.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant at this time from any board members? Seeing none, we thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Again, do I have any other speaker for or against? Seeing none, I'd call for a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Wells, second by Mr. Belfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye.
We have a little different process, I think,
I
this
see
time.
that. What we have, apparently, I read this several times, is a four-step process, and I guess this is something we learned during the long public hearing that I spoke about back earlier in the year. But I'm just going to take them one at a time. The first two we are familiar with, and it would consist of, first, a motion to either approve either item, consistency statement A or B at this time.
Mr. Chairman, I move for adoption of consistency statement A.
And that would include those items listed below that that tell why we adopted A. I guess, Mr. Outlaw?
Yes.
Okay.
I second.
Have a motion and a second, a motion by Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Bellfield. Is there any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? All right, motion passes. We have approved consistency statement A. The next item we need to do is approve or deny the RCCU rezoning request.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the rezoning request.
All right, have a motion for approval of the rezoning request.
Second.
Second by Mr. Outlaw, second by Mr. Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
And then, next item, a motion to approve the findings, and they are listed there. Mr. Attorney, is it okay to approve it and not read those, or do you need those read for the record? Can I just refer to?
As long as they're in the record, I think we're fine.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the findings 1 through 7 as listed in the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the findings as listed.
Second.
All right, have a motion by Commissioner Outlaw, a second by Ms. Richardson. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. And then the last motion is to approve or deny the conditional use permit. And they would be, again, subject to the conditions listed below that.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval or the conditional use permit with the conditions as listed.
Have a motion by Commissioner Outlaw, a second by Commissioner Bellfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. And that motion carries. And Mr. Looper, I'm pleased to inform you if you're at the end of your journey on this item that you need, sir. Yes, sir. We appreciate your comments about the staff we have there. It does look like you have been through the ringer quite a bit, but glad to get to the end of it. Okay, I had a note passed to me that I need to call for a 10-minute recess or 8-minute recess, somewhere along that line. So at this time, I call for a recess. We'll be back very shortly. I call us back to order at this time. We are on agenda item number 12, donation of a retired service K-9. I call on Chief Deputy Medina at this time to present this. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Item number 12 is in regards to donating a retiring service K-9, and this is in regards to K-9 Rec. K-9 Rec is a Belgian Malinois born in Slovakia in April 29, 2009. Rec began his training with the Southern Police K-9 in Mulmeyer, North Carolina, the following year. In July of 2010, Rec became a member of the Nash County Sheriff's Office, where he was assigned to Lieutenant Dirk Lehman. Rec has been credited with apprehending several criminals during his career, as well as lost children and the elderly. Rec currently holds the record for the most marijuana located by a Nash County K-9 unit with almost 109 pounds of marijuana. Throughout his career, Rec has also performed numerous demonstrations for the public and schools to educate the functions and abilities of the Nash County Sheriff's Office K-9 unit. The request would be to award the retiring K-9 Rec to his handler, Lieutenant Dirk Lehman. On another note, we just wanted to remind the board that we have just received another K-9 at no cost to the county. It is a bloodhound. This is the second bloodhound that we have acquired at no cost to the county. And this particular K-9 is called Pebbles. Pebbles came to us from Virginia, and within the next few months, we'll eventually start being seen out in the public more and more, because as of right now, it's just a puppy. The next week, it'll be like 100 pounds. So they grow up pretty fast. And just to give you an idea, Pebbles is no cost to the county. It's a non-aggressive K-9. Basically, what we'll use Nash and Pebbles for, their primary focus is to track missing individuals, especially in cases of Project Lifesaver, and to assist us in missing people as well. And respectfully request the the board to approve the request to donate K-9 rec to Lieutenant Lehman. And Lehman's here, happened to be in the back of the.
Any questions with board members this time concerning this item?
I move the request.
I hadn't called for a motion yet, Ms. Moyles. I'm kidding with you. Any questions? Seeing none, I call for a motion and accept Ms. Wells's motion on this item. Is there a second to that request?
Second.
Second by Ms. Richardson. Any questions on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Tickled to death to do it, gentlemen.
I want to ask Chief Medina, when Pebbles grows up, are you going to rename him Rock?
No, I think we'll keep Pebbles. We were tossing between Reagan and Pebbles, and we chose Pebbles.
Thank
Very nice sounding.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're now on item 13, which is a radio replacement update. I'd just like to point out to you that this is not an action item on the agenda about the radios. It is just an update. We had asked the staff to bring this to a conclusion by the 1st of February, if possible. And they are almost there, I understand, but it is not any action, and this is just a update for our information only, and I'd turn it over to Scott Rogers at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
As you know, we've been working on the public safety radio system for quite a while now, and as Chairman Davis said in his report that in the December meeting, you all moved the action to have us move toward the Viper system. And at the conclusion of that decision and report, we were left with 6 questions, and I'm going to attempt to answer those 6 for you today. The first one was in regards to initial funding of the project. We have researched the infrastructure costs to upgrade the capacity of the Viper system to accept our additional users, as well as upgrade the paging system that we use to dispatch fire and EMS departments. And that we've also investigated the cost to replace the radios that are owned by Nash County, the radios that are currently used in fire marshal and EM and EMS, as well as the cost to replace the radios that are owned by the fire departments that are currently being used. You have those costs before you. We have identified, and I'm happy to say as of Friday, completed a grant to the U.S. Fire Administration. It's an assistance to firefighter grant for $1 million to help with the project. We will not know the outcome of that until mid to late April. The next item was replacement funding. The radios that we have specified in the grant would be required to have at least, at a minimum, a 3-year warranty, and the radios would have somewhere between a 7 and 10-year replacement, or not replacement, but service life, if you will. We're still investigating some funding and how we might go about replacing those as time goes along in the future. The next item was quantities of radios for each department. We reached out to the chief of each fire district and asked for their request of number of radios they would need. We also used a few different formularies on how we might do the replacement numbers, and I'm happy to say that we've been able to, I guess you could say, merge those formulas and the request and come up with numbers that have been satisfactory to everyone. The next item was contract with fire departments. Certainly, once this project moves forward and those radios are purchased, there would be a custody receipt developed between the county and the departments that are receiving the radios. In addition to that, the sheriff has agreed to allow his Viper coordinator to work with the fire departments on issuance and ID numbers and so forth that will be needed. Additional infrastructure is next. That's a big item, certainly, but we did extensive testing throughout the county with the system, with the Viper system and new radios. We still have a couple of areas that are a little bit weak in coverage. We've continued to work with the Viper group, as well as trying some ideas and processes to try to improve that. But quite frankly, until the system is implemented and in use, it'll be very difficult to determine the exact needs of coverage going forward. So we have recommended an allocation for reserve there in the event that we have to add additional tower sites. And then the last item was training. The Sheriff's Viper Coordinator, Todd Wells, has worked with myself, and we have, actually, he has already arranged programming training to allow him and one of our staff members to be more familiar with the radios, to be able to do in-house programming and allocation versus having to use a vendor to do that. And in addition, he and I have worked together. We will very soon be developing an end-user training program that he and I will deliver together to the fire departments to ensure their capability to utilize the new system. So we believe that that answers the 6 questions that we were tasked with, and certainly I'll be glad to answer any questions if there are any, Mr. Chairman. Okay. Any questions or comments for on this radio item at this time for Scott? Seeing none, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you. We are looking forward and most anxious to approve a contract to buy the radios, sir. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item 14. It is a 2017 Community Development Block Grant, Disaster Recovery Grant application. I'll call on Ms. McGee at this time to present this item. Already here. Good morning.
Thank you. Nash County has been awarded $1 million in Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Funds by the state of North Carolina. And at this time, the state requires that the board approve the grant agreement, which I believe you have in your packet, and that it be executed by the chief elected official and returned to the state by February 16th. Before April 1st, we will also need to advertise and procure for grant administration and approve a bunch of grant-related plans, so we will be back to you next month with that. But I'd like to introduce Mike Barnett to you again from McDavid and Associates. He submitted the grant application on our behalf back in the fall, and we've been training together and submitted priorities to the state. And he'll talk to you about the details of the housing and infrastructure projects we plan to accomplish with the grant, and then we'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Patsy. Just a few words. This grant, the county submitted last fall. You had public hearings on this program. It contains housing activities for disaster-related, disaster-affected houses, and also drainage will help you match with the project you now have going on with the town of Nashville. We need to release the environmental conditions will be the next step. In addition to the policies and procurement that Patsy talked about. You know, we had submitted a group of preliminary housing activities, and in our training 2 weeks ago, the state explained to us that they would do intake and tell us the proper treatment for the ones that we were going to be able to help. So we'll still need to figure out what that is upon their direction, but we intend to have them first consider the unfunded HMGP application. Y'all submitted a number of houses for hazard mitigation program acquisition elevation that were not funded. So they'll be the first ones considered. And then we also have a number of applicants for your Housing Finance Agency Essentials Rehabilitation Program that you have going on, and we'll try to have those considered as well. And I think the action requested, Mr. Chairman, is to just to approve the grant agreement.
Okay. Any questions from a board member at this time on this item? Seeing none, I would call for a motion to approve the grant agreement. So moved. Moved by Mr. Bellfield. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Richardson. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you. We thank you. Patsy, your comment about needing public hearings, is that another item or involved in this item?
It is another item. It is come to our attention within the last week or so. There is a pot of funding that's quickly available, but we have to apply by the end of February. 2 public hearings are required, so there's only time to have one at our regular meeting on the 19th, unless the board would have a special meeting, and Chairman Davis indicated that's something that might be able to do, and but we don't have time to get it in 2 regular meetings and meet the advertising requirements.
Well, you-
So, but that would be for infrastructure and housing-related project as well.
Well, you just let us know when you need your meeting. We've got one more, and just tell us what you need to do. We'll sure do it.
We'll advertise for the 19th meeting, if y'all can decide when you might want to meet after that, so that we can advertise in time for that.
Given amount of time between the two, is there,
I'm not aware of a spacing requirement.
okay, all right, we'll get that straight then, can't we? See.
Do you need to advertise both dates at the same time?
That would be less expensive.
Yeah. We can go ahead and do that
Mr.
today.
Manager, we probably should have 2 separate advertisements.
Right.
And should have some reasonable amount of, several days, say, after the 19th for the second public hearing, but before the 28th.
Yep. Nope, you bring it up in the manager's report.
Okay.
and
Probably
we'll
2 or
resolve
3
that.
at least then.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll deal with that in the manager's report.
Thank you. We're
you.
going to go out and look at
Okay,
some possible,
all right, great.
Right
We
now.
appreciate it, and apparently you did a good job with the application.
We try to work at it.
Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda, item 15 is budget amendments. I call on Donna Wood to make that presentation, and there she is. Good morning.
Good morning. The following budget amendments are presented for the board's consideration for fiscal year 17-18. The first item is for the sheriff's office. They're requesting $20,562 from fund balance for from the Controlled Substance Fund. And this is to update the interview cameras and recording system and the interrogation room to make sure that they maintain in compliance with North Carolina General Statute. They were going to apply for this. They were going to use funding from the JAG grant funds. However, they're not sure if those funds will be available in the current year. The next item is with legal funds. This budget amendments to budget additional legal funding for fiscal year 17-18. This is primarily due to the increase in additional fees required for unexpected litigation with East Point and our solar farms. And we're requesting $150,000 from fund balance appropriation to complete the year. Next item is with cooperative extension. This budget amendment is additional funding received for the Master Gardener training class and the regional grain meeting scheduled in February. No additional county funds are needed. These are funds that we've received, and in order to be able to spend them, we have to budget for them. The next item was with Recreation and Senior Services Department. This budget amendment is to budget additional funds received for the home-delivered cost share program and Project Lifesaver, and also an adjustment with the Home Community Care Block Grant, Congregate Nutrition to correct funding amounts. And this is $1,960.
Okay, okay to approve all these at the same time, or any of them need to be done individually?
It's fine to approve all at the same time.
Any questions on these budget amendments from a board member? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
I got a motion by Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by like sign? Budget amendments are approved. Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to item number 16, which is a presentation on the courtyard that we've been talking about for some time out front, and call on Stacy to make that presentation to us. Good morning.
Good morning. As you all are aware, I've been working on getting some quotes and working with vendors for a monument to mark our commemorative courtyard out in front of this building. In previous meetings, we shared several options with the commissioners, and largely you all were happy with the teardrop monument that we showed. So I had that specific monument with the sizes quoted by 3 different companies. An Everlasting Memory Monument Company was the company that you heard from before. Their total quote is $9,500. Conway Development, which was a gentleman that you all met in one of our meetings, his quote came in at $11,050. And then Mrs. Barnes, Commissioner Barnes, turned us on to North Carolina Granite Corporation. I contacted them, and they came back with $18,502. Although this isn't with a dollar amount, normally something that would need to go before the board. We've started this process with the board, so I just wanted to bring it before you to get your blessing and going with an Everlasting Memory Monument Company and moving forward with this.
All right, any questions on this item?
You did say Everlasting Monument is the lady in Rocky Mount that made the presentation before?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I guess all three are the same materials, the same size, and
Yes.
just such a large discrepancy from.
Same structure.
And actually, the first two companies, an Everlasting Memory Monument and Conway Development, the two of those two companies would be ordering this piece from China. North Carolina Granite Corporation does have the ability to make this structure themselves, and their quote is based on them making it.
Oh, okay.
And all of them were bidding on the same.
Same as specs, exactly the same specs.
Any other questions? No brainer. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve this request.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Combs there, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Richardson.
Well, we are approving Everlasting as the vendor for this?
That was her recommendation.
Okay.
Yes.
I based it on her recommendation, which was to take the low
Sorry, I
quote.
missed that.
Okay.
Okay.
Quite all right.
500.
I've got a motion and a second. Any more questions on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed by a light sign. Motion carries. When does it get here from China?
120 days from the
120
time that we order it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great.
And that time frame was consistent with all, the one in North Carolina, we could have maybe gotten it about 80 days, but it was consistent with the other vendor.
We can live with the 40 extra days for $9,000.
Yes.
Yes, sir. We appreciate it.
Just one more question. At some point, I guess not in the too distant future, you're going to give us an update regarding moving forward with the balance of this project?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
If you'll stand right there.
I'm gonna stand right here.
At item 17 is board appointments. I know we've got several that's on a sheet that we handed out, and the reason for that, these were taken care of very late last week. The reason it didn't get in the agenda package. I know the Board of Commissioners at the Nash UNC Healthcare took care of it on Thursday afternoon at a meeting I attended, but that's why they're not in your package. But if you'll find that sheet that was laying there, that's what we're talking about. I'll turn it back over to you, ma'am.
Yes, and we also.
Is there a summary of the recommendations other than just the name? I see you said resumes.
Yeah, I actually do have those for you, and they're not in front of you. I apologize for that. If you need me to wait on that and get those before you, we can do that.
I certainly would like to see them.
Are you okay to move forward? The majority of them are reappointments. Can we hear the presentation, then decide, make that decision, Mr. Belfield?
Yeah, we can
Okay,
do the presentation.
all right. Go ahead with the presentation, ma'am.
So I also heard over the weekend about our Transportation Advisory Committee appointments by the towns. The towns of Middlesex, Red Oak, and Spring Hope had appointments due for the Transportation Advisory Committee in December 31st of 2017. The town of Middlesex has recommended Mayor Luther Harvey Lewis for reappointment, and the town of Spring Hope has recommended Commissioner Brenda Lucas for reappointment. And the town of Red Oak plans to finalize their recommendation in their meeting this month, and I should be able to bring that back to you in our March meeting.
Okay. Ms. Bellfield, would we okay to take action on this? I think we know these people.
Some of them I don't.
Reappointments.
Well, they're real appointments, I understand. I'm talking about just the first item. The first item, which is what she just presented.
Yeah, you're talking about transportation?
Yes, sir.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Move
Well,
forward.
just wanna make sure.
Move forward. I thought you were talking about the hospital appointment.
Can I take that as a motion to approve these appointments?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second, Mr. Outlaw, you have a
I
question?
just one question regarding Red Oak. Knowing that Red Oak, ever who they put forth, we are probably 100% going to approve that. Why would we not just go ahead and approve that appointment today based on who they recommend? So that can go ahead and go forward and they can get that person on that committee. I think that our next meeting is in March. And that person would be able to attend that meeting. I mean, unless you want to bring it back at our mid-month meeting.
You all are going to have to educate me. Are we allowed to do that?
I'm gonna let the attorney address that.
I mean, I assume the board could do it, but I think it's preferential to approve a particular appointment and do it at our mid-month meeting. That would be my preference.
Are they going to be able to give us that name by mid-month, you think?
I'm not sure exactly what their meeting date is in February, but I can look into that, and if it's at all possible for me to bring it to
Sit on
you.
that board, I'm just trying to expedite getting members on that board, so.
They, Mr. Outlaw will be meeting on, Susan, can you help me with this? I know you're presenting at that board. Do you remember it?
It's in March.
Well, have they already met in February?
Town council meets in.
They're actually meeting tonight at 6:30. Excuse me, they're meeting next Monday night at 6:30.
The RPO?
No, the Red Oak Board is meeting.
Oh, okay, I'm thinking.
Mr. Outlaw, I'll make sure that they give us a
All
name.
right, great. Because I know whoever they put forward, we're going to approve it.
Right.
Most likely.
Most likely, yes, sir. But we'll have that name at our
Okay.
meeting.
All right, great.
meeting. I'm back, I have a motion and I have a second on the, on the Middlesex and Spring Hope reappointments. All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. That motion carries. You could proceed with the next one.
Okay, so the Nash UNC Healthcare Board of Commissioners have approved nominations for Sheila Wallace and Joel Lee Bryant. I apologize again, I do not have that information in front of you. The board needs to make a decision about whether to approve those now or,
Mr. Bellfield, if I could, they took action on this on Thursday night. Ms. Barnes was out of the States, and I was out there, as you know, and you were for the ribbon cutting, and I just asked the Chairman Lilly if he mind if I sit in the meeting without saying anything, of course, and he was glad for me to go to that board meeting, so I did attend the board meeting last Thursday night where they did this. And you know, you've had Joel Lee Bryant sent to you before, which is the name that we have approved unanimously on this board that comes from Commissioner Combs' district, and so we have approved that.
Sheila Wallace is the one I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna explain that one to you. The hospital, of course, is losing an educator off of that board, and I will say a minority educator. They were very sensitive to keeping an educator, and like you, they're sensitive to keeping a minimum of 4 minority members on the board. And so the chairman asked me the last time we met if we would consider approving 2 names for this appointment because there is a extra seat sitting out there that we approved one time before that we asked them not to fill and they haven't filled it. What we're doing is recommend to put both of these people on here at this time, and then when the next board seat comes open that can't be a reappointment, they're not going to appoint anybody to keep the number of people on the board the same. It was a request that the chairman made of it, but I felt like we could honor, given the circumstances. And this lady, Sheila Wallace.
Sheila Wallace.
Yeah, it is the name that they came up with. She
said
is,
she's an educator.
she is an educator, works for Nash Rocky Mountain School Systems, and I, for the life of me, this moment, can't remember which school she works in.
Well, that doesn't matter, I just want to know.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
about it.
she is an educator with the school system, and I haven't seen her resume either, but I feel like they have interviewed her, their nominating committee, and I do feel like they've done the due diligence on it, and I'd really like to get this approved, because we kind of been pushing them to get it to us, if you can be okay with that.
Well, I'm not hard to work with. You've given me some information that make it a little comfortable for me to vote.
Right, you know Loretta Hankerson is the one that's having to come off.
Well, in fact, I talked to her at the groundbreaking, and she said she's going off in April.
Right, that's correct. And that's why we're trying to get these in place. Okay, well, if you're okay with that, I'd entertain a motion to approve these two appointments at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Belfield, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 reappointments, if you'd present those, Stacey.
Correct. The UNC Healthcare Board of Commissioners also has reappointments for Eugene F. Butch Holland, Jean Kitchen, Dr. Martha Chestnut, and John Baker.
Barker.
I'm sorry, Barker.
And your recommendation is to approve
Approve
these
reappointments,
Okay.
please.
Any questions on these 4 existing members? And these are 4 that I do know attend very regular, just reading the minutes that we get from the hospital.
Yeah.
Entertain a motion for approval.
So
Moved by Ms. Richardson, second by Mr. Belfield. All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries. I will say, for the benefit of the board, I had asked, particularly at Ms. Barnes's request, that the board work very hard moving forward, the Board of Commissioners at the hospital, to get our county more represented, because we had ended up with 13 out of 16 names having a Rocky Mount address, which is certainly not anything wrong with that, but it didn't have a true distribution throughout the county. And Mr. Lilly, the chairman, talked about that at length at that meeting, and they have made a firm commitment to, as board seats come up in the future, that they would get dispersed back off. We don't even have a person from Nashville at this time, but that is one thing I will say. This lady does live in Nashville, the school teacher does, so that helped a little bit in that regard. But they will be bringing names to us throughout the rural parts of the county, moving forward more so than what we've got right now. Consolidated Human Health Services Board,
I think we had agreed that I would not keep bringing that before the board. If I do have other appointments, you'll see it at the bottom of your list, just as a reminder, but we do not need to address that today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, item 18, is the monthly tax report. Mr. Wren, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, other members of the board. As usual, this is for informational purposes only, but I'm always glad to try to answer any questions you have.
Questions, Mr. Wren, at this time? Thank you, sir. Move on to item number 19.
In 19, I think is a refund request. We have none, so that's pretty straightforward. We have no refund request.
No action required. Item 20, sir.
All right. Each year, as you all know, I have to report to you the amount of unpaid taxes that are liens on real property as of the end of January. And so today, I'm able to report to you that the amount of unpaid taxes that are liens on real property only is $1,923,350.29. And I know you like to know how this compares to the previous year, and I'm pleased to be able to.
The manager that likes to know that.
Sir?
I think it's the manager that likes to know that, but go ahead, sir.
Yeah, and of course, we're all interested in that, and I'm pleased to be able to tell you again, that we still trending better than the previous year, and we are, that figure is less than what it was last year. I think the figure last year, I thought I had it in front of me, was, anyway, it was just over $2 million last year. And overall, as far as collections go, we're pleased. Obviously, looking at this information, we've looked ahead a little bit from what the first report was that I gave you just a few minutes ago, and we're trending again in a very positive direction. Right now, we're overall just about 0.5% ahead. I know that's subject, there's a lot of work yet to do, so don't want to get too happy yet, but I'm just real pleased with the efforts of the staff. They just work really hard, and I'm pleased too with the efforts of the people of the county. I know they're trying as best they can to get their taxes paid.
Right.
So with that said, I need to ask you all to, as far as action, approve this report of the unpaid taxes, and then direct me to advertise sometime between March 1st and the end of June.
All right, any questions of Mr. Wren at this time from board members? Seeing none.
Same people each year falling in this
A lot of repeat offenders, yes, sir. And, but not entirely, but predominantly, yes, sir. It does seem to be. I don't really know that. I assume that. That's not really something I know.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve this report and direct our tax assessor to do something between March 1st and June the 30th. Well,
That would be to advertise the.
advertise, okay.
And, yes, the publication,
Advertise publication.
which we're required by law.
Right, all right. That motion to that effect.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Richardson, second by Mr. Bellfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Thank you, Mr. Wren, and thank you on behalf of your entire staff for the job they do for us, sir. All right, we're now on item 21, which is commissioner report. Anything, any commissioner wishes to bring to the board at this time? Quiet bunch today. Seeing none, I'll go to item number 22, which is the manager's report. We have another item I'm thinking that he may address that was presented to us.
Right, I can do that.
Okay, this morning, with that said,
Yeah.
glad to hear from you, sir.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and address that request from Castelia. They have, as y'all know, built a recreation complex in the last 3 or 4 years. That we had committed to them $15,000 for that project, and they did not use that $15,000. They contacted Commissioner Richardson, who represents that area, and has forwarded a letter to me that you should have that requests a $5,000 contribution to help erect and equip a concession stand that will be used during sports events. So this came to me last week, and we couldn't, the agenda was already out, so I just wanted to make y'all aware of that request. Y'all are free to hold it in abeyance or act on it today.
Where is the $15,000 sitting at this time?
We reappropriated it 1 year, but we did not reappropriate it a second year.
Okay, all right.
So they use none of the 15,000?
None of it.
Is, Ms. Pritchard, you better answer this, but is this concession stand, it sounds like it may be mobile, but is it gonna be owned by the town?
Yes.
Okay.
And they have worked very hard, and as they are still trying to get started and get it off running and get it stabilized,
Sure.
you know, just like anything else, they just need a little help
Okay.
in getting this situated, and
Any board member have any other questions on it? Ms. Richardson, do you want to give us a motion to approve it?
Yes, sir, I certainly would, and we have already, like you said, obligated them per se this amount, and they have not asked to use it, so.
Right.
Just asking to use this portion of it. I would recommend that we grant them their request of $5,000 for the park.
All right, I have a motion, there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Wells. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Call somebody when you leave, tell them it's approved, man.
Thank you, and we will provide a budget amendment, a budget amendment at the next meeting. I also want to introduce, we had 2 vacancies in our Public Works, Engineering, Public Facilities Department. We have combined 2 positions into one and enhanced that. And Mike Tolson has with him today that new employee who I guess is the assistant director. And his name is Mike Phillips. Been working with the town of Rocky Mount, the city of Rocky Mount, for several years, and he's on board as of the 1st of the month. So just wanted, if you would, stand up. So,
Glad to have you, sir. Already got me fussed at already by someone that worked under you where you were. The brother of a young lady that works for me fussed because we hired you away from Rocky Mount, so you must be a good employee over there. For a person under you to be upset because you left.
yeah, that is good. And that will save the county some money because we did eliminate one position. The next thing is, I sent y'all the resignation letter of Elgin Lane. She wasn't here, but she's left. She has gotten the job as HR director for the town of Henderson. Elgin lives in Durham, therefore her commute will be a lot shorter, up 85, and her last day will be February 27th. We have posted the position, and we'll start interviewing very soon. Hope to have somebody in place by the end of the month. As you know, Donna Boone will retire at the end of the month. The Human Services Director, Mr. Bill Hill, did interviews and has named Amy Pridgeon Hamlet to serve as the next DSS director. They are now in the process of searching for a new deputy director. Ms. Hamlet had been the deputy director for the last 3 or 4 years, but she's been with the agency over 20, I believe. The Retreat Planning Committee has developed a plan for the department heads retreat. This year's department head retreat will be at Rose Hill. They gave us a very good rate. It will be Tuesday, March the 13th, and Wednesday, March the 14th. Also, as a reminder, the commissioners will have their budget retreat Wednesday, March 28th, and Thursday, March 29th. That will take the place of a second meeting in March. We are currently working on the planning for the location, and we'll update you when the details become available. Also, as the chairman mentioned in his remarks, state of the county, we are going to be meeting with the school board staff this Thursday to begin discussions about the development of the 2 joint committees that have been proposed by the boards. See, also we need to, if we could, schedule that second public hearing that was mentioned by Ms. McGee earlier. The first public hearing will be the 19th. If we could do it either early or late on the, okay, early or late on the 26th. If no one has, that's what I would recommend, but any day, 26th or 27th. I was going to go towards the end of the prior week, but he did recommend some separation. So the first public hearing will be the 19th, and I would, if there's no conflict, ask that y'all schedule a second public hearing for the 26th at a time convenient for the board.
Everybody gonna be okay with that? And would you prefer morning or
26th
afternoon?
of what, March?
Of February.
February.
We got to
That-
have two before March the 1st, Mr. Belfield.
And that is a Monday.
Twenty-six.
Yes, sir.
What time? Because I have a doctor's appointment at 2:10.
It's up to the board, and if you need to go to the 27th, that's fine. We can either do it 10 o'clock in the morning on the 26th or earlier, or we can do it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on the 26th.
I'll be out of town both those days.
But on the 26th and 27th?
You okay, Mr. Coleman? It will be for one item to have a public hearing?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah. We really only need 4 people here, but.
Well, you messed up my percentage of attendance.
I know. That's right. This should be excluded.
We'll be okay. Ms. Belfield, would you prefer to have it at 10 o'clock Monday morning or 4 o'clock Monday afternoon?
Well, when you go into the doctor's office, you know how long. They schedule a lot of patients that come in at the same time.
10 o'clock in the morning?
At 10 o'clock in the morning, but.
I have a doctor appointment at 8:05 myself, but I can be here by 10 o'clock.
Okay, 10 o'clock is fine.
Any
We could
problem
do it
with
at
that?
11?
10 o'clock.
Okay,
fine.
okay.
All right, we're scheduled for 10 o'clock, Mr. Manager, on the 26th.
Okay.
26th February.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you send out a little reminder on that? I got it in my book, but just to kind of state the purpose again.
Had they approved the date of the 19th for the first public hearing?
That's our second meeting for the month.
Yeah, but they actually voted to approve a public hearing for that date?
I think y'all gave her
did.
instructions to advertise.
We didn't vote, but
You didn't
I don't think we
vote, but you
need it.
gave her instructions.
Okay,
don't have to
okay,
vote for that.
okay.
They notice it for that day.
Right.
We'll notice it then for 2:30 for the 19th and 10 o'clock for the 26th. And my final remarks have to do with following up on the chairman's state of the county. I think he was very correct in complimenting our staff here in the county and our department heads. We are blessed to have very strong department heads in this county. We have people that have come up through the ranks, and we've got a good pool of people to hire from within whenever a vacancy occurs at that department head level. And I just want to publicly join in with what the chairman said about our department heads and our staff here in the county. We've got a great working staff here in Nash County, and I really appreciate all they do. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, any other comment? If not, I would ask for a closed session at this point in time.
Just before you do that.
Yes, sir.
The legislative conference in Washington, D.C. Starts on that Saturday before we normally have our commission meeting that first Monday. Are we gonna change that?
We've already changed.
We've already.
We've already done that, Mr. Bill.
I miss you.
I believe it's the 12th. Yeah.
Yeah, 12, okay, gotcha.
And then the second meeting that month will be the retreat.
Where it was, I'm calling for a closed session to discuss matters of attorney-client privilege, economic development, and contract negotiations. And I need a motion to go into that, and do we anticipate any action to be taken on any item, Mr. Manager, Mr. Attorney? See?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Richardson. Second by, thank you. Second by, I get ready to second myself. Second by Mr. Bellfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? We'll adjourn the closed session.
Got one more question.
Yes, sir.
The 19th, we were talking about commissioners meeting on the 19th, that's March, right? Or February?
That's February.
February.
Okay.
We'll be meeting on the 19th of February, the 26th of February, and the 12th of March, and then the retreat at the end of March.
Yeah, I wrote it down in March, but I need to put it to February.
Okay. All right, then.